I grew up a block away from the cathedral, right by St. Francis. It was right by now where Joe Waits' law office is, and the old library. That house was right in between there. It worked good for us. I was able to run back and forth to school all the time and play on all the school equipment and do all that kind of stuff, but there wasn't a whole lot of friends around my area. Back in the day, you could get on your bike and drive out to Mulberry or Barrios, where most of my friends lived, or Broadmoor. I was a football guy. My walls were filled not with quarterbacks, with middle linebackers. Had Dick Butkus, Tommy Novus. I always had a late birthday, so I was always like the baby. I was born in November, so I always got to play a year younger than most of my peer group that I was with. But it did help me always playing against older guys. So once I got playing against people my age, it helped me. And in fact, it helped me in baseball, because once I got drafted, I played as a younger player. You couldn't play as a 9-year-old unless you weighed 100 pounds. Well, I was right on the edge. I was about 90, but I wanted to play so bad football that my parents were like, all right, we're gonna help you a little bit. So woke up that morning, ate a huge breakfast, drank water all day long, just trying to get to 100 pounds, and actually did sneak we had some horseshoes, and I snuck some horseshoes into my back pocket so I can go in it, and I tipped the scales right at 99, right at 100 that day. Played with the Rebels. We always had a good team. We always, Martin Falls, Jimmy Watkins were on my team. Paul Fitch was a quarterback at the end, and of course we always seemed like we had great wide receivers. Dud Horton was one of our receivers. Tootie White was my first coach, and he was like, hey, he would play for the Houma Indians, So that was a big deal to play for him. I do remember, coming out, and Ernie Brown was one of the players, and Ernie was precocious. Again, he was a 12-year-old, I was a 9-year-old. He looked like he was 7'4" on the mound, and I remember just going, this is not, I'm hoping I'm going to walk, because this is not going to end well. I wasn't ready to play as a freshman by any means. By the time we got to baseball that sophomore year, you kind of, you start growing up a little bit. And I went from being the little kid that couldn't letter on the football team as a sophomore. Now suddenly I'm the first starter of our peer group. That's kind of where it took off. And then surprisingly, that spring, when we go to do spring football, now I kind of grew up. Now I'm holding my own on the football field. I had a football mentality, but I knew baseball was probably going to be. I wasn't going to have a chance to play in the NFL, where I was starting to kind of see scouts were starting to show up a little bit. Hey, you might have a chance to play baseball, college baseball, really. Wasn't really thinking big leagues at that time, but a chance to play maybe in college. That was a great year, and we went all the way to state championship. Probably shouldn't have got there, but we played hard, and it kind of caught up to us. So we were the little team that could in football. We were scrappy. We shouldn't have been there. We kept winning, just finding a way. Baseball, we were the powerhouse. We were the team. We had the players. Our whole lineup was seniors. We were all stacked. Everybody was hitting 300-400. I was pitching. We had a good staff. We were the team that should have won the state championship, and we lost at Central. So it was almost a reverse. So in football, we shouldn't have been there. We played in the state championship. In baseball, we should have been there, and then we get beat in the semifinals. The 1971 team that did win the state championship, and that's all we followed, all those guys. They had real good football teams too. But that's, we didn't have the internet, and we didn't play video games. We went and watched our brothers play. So those guys were my heroes. They had won state championship. We were LSU people, so that's where I was going to go. Towards the end of my school year, I'm recruited by Arkansas. Had started to call me. UL Lafayette was calling me, and they were doing a good job. And then Nichols was talking about being a two-sport athlete at Nichols. Coach Albert actually made a call to LSU and said, "Hey, this guy he's yours if you want him." And they were like, "Oh, we don't have a coach. He can come look at the facilities and all until we hire a coach." Well, the best program in the state that year was USL. So I went over to USL. They had a good team. They won 42 games the year before, and loved it. And it was really good. I was going to pitch and play first base, and we play a couple of games in the fall. And I said, man, I'd like to catch, you know? He's like, you catch? I'm like, yeah, that's the position I want to play. I didn't play in high school because of having to pitch and playing third. And he goes, okay, we'll let you catch a little bit. Well, I didn't know, but what he did was playing Southern, who always had some racehorses on the bases, you know, and every time they get a guy on, he would say, just send him. So and then I threw out about 5 guys in a couple of innings in an inter-squad game, and they're all like going, whoa, we need to take a look at this. Before you know it, I'm catching opening day. I walk up to the plate. I'm a college baseball player now, and this guy, Frank Wills, I'd never heard of, and he throws the first pitch about 100 miles an hour, and I'm going, I'd just soon retire right now. I know I had a hat trick of strikeouts, maybe a golden sombrero. I might have had 4 strikeouts. Frank Wills then went #1 pick. He was the #1 pick with the Kansas City Royals. That first day of going, I got no chance, to like, I have arrived, to like, I got a lot to learn. I learned all that in the first at bat. I had to learn how to be a hitter, and that's how college is. We were in the Jayhawk League. We played Iowa, Kansas, South Dakota. It was like a minor league team, but it was college, and it was the best thing ever happened. I learned how to catch, learned how to frame the ball, learned how to hit the ball the other way, and it was completely different. That January, they had the coaches convention in New Orleans at the Hilton. Went there and met the coach from Jayhawk League, and while I was there, the Arizona State coach, the pitching coach, was there, and he's like whispering something to the coach. He walks out of the room. He said, look, he can't tell you anything. We can't all be in the same room. He would love you to come play for Arizona State, which was like the top. It was like LSU then. Well, I'll have to transfer, and this is January. I'm about to start the year. And he goes, we'll get you a spot at a junior college. You come play. The next year, you'll be our catcher. Tearfully, you know, I just thought I'd like sneak out of town, but, you know, I had to go tell the coach, and I was crying and all. Casa Grande and Coolidge are 20 miles apart. In the middle, 10 miles in between, there's this little campus with about 5 buildings. That's Central Arizona Junior College. And it was me, a bunch of guys from Puerto Rico that were coming in with the Brewers. It focused me, you know. I wasn't going out at night. I wasn't going to the keg in Lafayette. I wasn't hanging out. It focused me. I lost a little weight. Again, Louisiana's not a baseball hotbed. There's like 40 scouts in the stand. I'm like, well, who are they here to see? And they're like, they're here to see you. Take infield, right? Just for me to throw and watch. And it was like, man, there's a bunch of dudes in Louisiana can do this. It was a totally different mindset for baseball at the time. So the Braves draft me, you know. I was fired up. I was number 55 overall, which was the second player in the 3rd round at the time, but 55 overall, which today's slot would have been pretty good payday. Congratulations. They start calling me Hank, you know. I'm like, well, I've never been Hank before, but, you know, the Braves, Hank Aaron stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. We're going to fly you and your parents and my agent, who was my brother Eddie. He wasn't really an agent, but Eddie will take a trip. Flew us all first class into Fulton County Stadium, and they put us up there. So, you know, I was ready to be the next guy, you know. My dad's like, son, I really want you to get a college education. You need to graduate. I said, Dad, look, I got to go. If they offer me a good amount, I'm going to go play. My brother, you know, the agent said, look, if they offer you 100, you're going. And I'm going, if they offer me 50, I'm going. I'm just letting y'all know, right? I want to play. He goes, we have an offer for $17,500. I was like, excuse me? You know, and again, I like very respectful. I said, you just paid more to fly us over here than that. I was just shocked. I'm like, no, I got a chance to play on the Olympic baseball team this summer. At the end of the day, it's like all mad at me now. The scouts mad at me. 25 is final offer. I'm going, thanks, I'll see. So I'm gonna go and play USA baseball that summer. So I go back to Clarinda, and then in June, July, we go to play in USA baseball. We're getting ready to go to Korea. Well, we Jimmy Carter, Afghanistan, the Russians go into Afghanistan, and we pull out and we boycott the Olympics. So the Olympic team's not there, but we still play a friendship series, the beginning of the World Games in Seoul, Korea. So hit a home run at the end to win the championship, actually, and was MVP of that. So kind of raised my stock. So now I'm going to go back to school, thinking I'm going to go back to UNO. But before I can go to UNO, because I only went one semester, I had to graduate from junior college. So I went to Delgado to graduate from junior college. And that made me eligible for the January draft. And then the Cardinals called and said, "You're eligible for the January draft." I was like, "Oh, okay, good." He goes, "We have the number 1 pick overall in the draft. If we can get a deal with you right now, we'll take you number 1. If we can't get a deal with you, we're taking somebody else." And so they end up meeting the 50. It just worked out, and the Cardinals were, again, I was really fired up to go to the Cardinals. Whitey Herzog was the manager. He'd just come in. That first spring training, I caught and threw and hit, and they were like, "This is the best prospect to come through here since Ted Simmons as a catcher." So I was on my way. And it started off like that, and one of the last days of spring training, my elbow had a twinge, and it felt like it was like hyperextended. So every once in a while I'd go to throw and it would catch. Then suddenly I just started I started throwing balls high, and then you start losing confidence, and I just didn't ever, my arm came back, I had velocity and all, but I never had that offensive mentality playing defense that I had. I was just never a player I thought I could have been. So there was a period there I could really catch, and then there was a period I could really hit, and there was probably 2 weeks where I was a hell of a prospect. You start white knuckling a little more, you start thinking about things a little more as you get to 23, 24. It sounds crazy now to think that's old, but you start thinking about those things. If I'd have been free and easy as a 19-year-old, I guarantee I'd have been just as good a player in the big leagues. Martin and I are best buds, and he was starting up HTV. So I started helping Martin with that, help him videotape some things, learned how to white balance and learned how to use a tripod and those kind of things, learned how to edit. And then when I finished playing baseball, I went back to LSU, and I went to one of the career days. And the news director that I met at Channel 3 in Lafayette, she says, "You need to come do an internship here." I said, "Well, I'm not really eligible." She's like, "I don't care. You got experience. You got a look. You're going to be a sportscaster one day." I'm like, "I really kind of want to do it." She said, "No, just don't give up sports." Martin and myself and a couple of my friends were doing music videos, and they looked similar to what they were doing on MTV at the time. And we needed some girls to be in the music video. So Martin knew some girls that grew up on his street. So we walked into the house, and I met this girl, Evelyn Olivier, and Evelyn and I have been together ever since. We have 2 kids. My son Cameron is now 33. He's working in Baton Rouge. My daughter's now 30, Callan. Just got married New Year's Eve. So we're hoping for grandkids. I keep telling them, I was like, "Look, if I'm going to take these kids to play travel baseball, we got to do it while I'm young." And that's the one thing I had, a great support system. My family, my mother and my father raised us good, my brother and my sisters. So it wasn't easy, but I loved every second of it. And so I did have to get to that point. I regret that I hurt my arm that day. I regret that I still caught over 110 games that first year with a kind of a wing that wasn't great. It probably set me back, and I might have cost myself some, but who knows? I also might not have been in the right place at the right time any other place. So I think I got into a good enough place. I used to always go. We were fortunate. The time we were born, we didn't have to go fight in wars. I'd always look at those kind of things and think on a gratitude style. Like, I got to be thankful for what I have. Although, yeah, I really wish I'd have come back and bought everybody houses like I wanted to.